Hi, everybody. I am so excited to do our very first interview in this series of permission slips interviews, and you'll learn more about why we're calling it that way. But for now, I am so happy and excited to introduce you to an old friend, Susie Chau from Carpe Diem Traveler. Susie, thank you so much for taking the time to
Thank
chat
you.
with us.
Thank
It
you. I'm excited to be here.
Absolutely. It's been a while since we chatted, and I know you are doing a lot of interesting things in your business and your travel business and then your new business that you'll share with us. But I love your story. I love hearing like about your travels. I know sometimes we like reconnect, like, hey, you're in Paris and I'm in Spain. Like, what are you guys doing with the kids and things like that? So that's really nice to touch base on. But specifically today, I wanted to talk about how do we make more time for ourselves, for travel and for just well-being? I know you have a lot of experience doing that. The latest thing that caught my eye was, oh, Susie's taking 31 days in like last 2 months. I'm like, okay, I need to chat with her because I need to take more days off. But also on the grander scale, I know you took a whole year off sabbatical, and I think a lot of the ladies in our group can certainly benefit from taking some time off for themselves. So, Susie, can you tell us a little bit about your traveling and just, just who is Susie and a little bit about you?
Yes, yes. Well, thanks again for having me. I started my business in 2016, but before that, I was a management consultant for 13 years. So a very, high stress, high pressure type of job. And that's what came out of college. I became a consultant because that's what I thought I was supposed to do. I followed up until that sabbatical. I was very much on the path that society says is the right one, which is, go to school, get good grades, get a good job, and then your life will be made. And I entered this job and I said, this is it. There's nothing else. I just really wasn't feeling fulfilled and I was very stressed out by this job. And uh, there's a bit of a turning lemons into lemonade with the sabbatical in that my husband ended up losing his job because of an acquisition. And we decided that we didn't want to relocate. So I pretty much said to him, you can find a new job now or you can find a new job later, because I saw this as a golden opportunity to shake things up. And what I call the sabbatical seed was planted many, many years ago when I was hopping from hostel to hostel in my 20s. That was really my first experience traveling abroad. And I would meet these people that were traveling for months or years at a time. And I thought that was crazy, especially, growing up as an American. That is absolutely not something that is normal by any stretch of the imagination. I had one conversation in Argentina, and I was so proud that my friend and we were traveling for 2 whole weeks in Argentina. And when I told him how, the natural question, how long are you traveling for? I said, 2 weeks, with a big smile on my face. And he goes, only 2 weeks? Like, how? You're barely scratching the surface. And he was traveling for however many months he was traveling for. I don't even remember. But that planted the seed that, oh, you know what? People do this. It's a thing. But I never identified as somebody who could do that, because I was in my buttoned up corporate professional job, and so those hippies is kind of in my head. Those are the people who do this. And so I couldn't quite see myself doing that. But then when this opportunity presented itself, with my husband, it was just one of those things that, like a lightning bolt moment, like, this is your chance. This was before kids. We were renting an apartment in Chicago, and we ended up, it took a while to convince my husband. That's a whole other story, but finally got him on board with the idea. And we traveled for a year. And I think the most shocking thing that people find out is, because everybody says, oh, that sounds amazing. I would love to do that, but I could never. And one of the big things that holds them back is thinking that this was, had to be like $1 million trip or something. Well, I will preface this to say that we were not staying at the Four Seasons for a year. We were very much on a budget, but all things considered, we went to all 7 continents,
Wow.
and that cost just less than simply living in Chicago for a year, because we were just taking our normal expenses, and instead of rent, that went towards, housing around the world, and instead of a car payment, that, is some flights, and, we use lots of other tricks and tools and things to balance out costs, but it's very, very doable. It doesn't have to be expensive. And so that's a point that I just wanted to get out in the open. First and foremost, travel doesn't have to be expensive. It certainly can, but it doesn't have to be. And once I returned back home, I went back to my consulting job because I got a leave of absence for that. And then I realized that I needed to start my business. So the sabbatical is what, that first leap of, departing from the beaten path of what, I was supposed to do. And I realized in taking that one leap, I proved to myself that not only can I do these things, but life is so much better on the other side of taking that risk, building up that courage to do the thing that you really want to do. And that, those thoughts that stay in the back of your head until you do that, they're going to exist there. And so for me, starting a business was something that I never really thought that I would do, but people were coming to me for questions on travel anyway. I said, well, I may as well make some money doing this. And I had a passion for helping people explore the world in a very, deep and intentional way, in the way that I had experienced the world. And so I wanted to share that and serve others to help them do that. And the latest thing, as you mentioned, Anna, as I, really focused in on sabbatical travel and intentional travel, I realized that the same types of processes that I help people with in planning these, more very meaningful trips can be applied to everyday life too. So I took a course this winter in transformational travel, and we got to learn principles and some tactics to help seed that transformation or the change in people. And I said, well, 95% of this could be just transferred into your daily routine. And so I really dug into that more, and I'm starting a new course all around that for women business owners. So that is kind of my way of arriving here, and to us reconnecting just recently about kind of the struggles with time, and never feeling like we have enough, and just feeling like we're always chasing our tails and just can't get to everything, and we wish we could clone ourselves. And that's a very real problem. And I think that kind of gets in the way of us pursuing these bigger dreams, like taking the big trip and doing the things that we want, because we feel like we can't and we don't have enough time. So we're just running around in that hamster wheel.
No, 100%. I can relate to so many things, and so many different ideas pop into my head as I'm listening to your story, and to how you just kind of like leaned in into what life was throwing at you. This is amazing. Like I'm lately, I think, I don't know, maybe as I'm getting older and wiser, like I'm just learning to lean in more into like what comes my way versus fighting it. And I feel like the beautiful and interesting things happen to me when I actually like lean in, when I like let it happen naturally. But going back to the point of, making the time and not never having enough time, time is one resource we cannot make more of. We can always make more money. We can always make more food, and like we can always make more emails, right? But we cannot make more time. So time has to be our most precious resource, and we should treat it that way. And I'm now in my small group travel for women business. and also in the custom travel business, because travel is travel and people want to take time and disconnect from the everyday life. But I hear so often, especially women, and that's why I'm doing these series of permission slips, because I feel like we need to give ourselves that permission to take the time off. Like we have this constant, I think you called it productivity guilt on that amazing webinar that I took with you. We have this
Mhm.
productivity guilt that look, we have to constantly produce and do something, that taking a break is a bad thing to do, and we can never give ourselves an hour or a week or a month off, because we need to produce, we need to do things. And I see this all the time. I'll share like a new exciting trip that I'm doing for my women travelers, and so many women say, this looks amazing, but I'm still traveling, I'm waiting to retire to take trips like this. And then like I just got chills. Like that breaks my heart. I'm like, no, don't wait to retire. Retirement is so far. Even if it's a year away, don't wait. Just like because that retirement is not guaranteed. Like your health is not guaranteed that year from now or 20 years from now. Like the financial situation that you will be in is not guaranteed that you'll be able to take that time. So when I hear people say like, oh, like one day I'll go to Italy, I'm like, no, you will not go one day to Italy, because that day, like I always say this cheesy thing, that one day is not a day on a calendar. If you're telling me you have a plan and it's going to be in 10 years or in 5 years, or in 5 days, whatever that magic day on the calendar, that one day that you're gonna go to Italy, I believe you. But if you just like, oh, there's not enough time, not enough money, I was like, oh my God, like how can we like teach more women to give ourselves permission to take that time and take that money and do what we actually want to do without feeling guilty. And I want to also circle back to another point that you said, travel doesn't have to be expensive. No, you can buy a house for $1 million for $400,000. Still a house. It's just different kind of house with different kind of expectations. But at the same time, I feel like as women, again, I'm harping on this point that as women, we don't give ourselves permission to spend money. Like, oh my God, I would spend the $10,000 on a trip for myself. No, I can take my kids, my grandkids, my sister, my husband, my parents. Like I can do all these things, or I can update the bathroom or the kitchen, or put it into my kids' I was gonna say my kids' retirement plan, not kids' retirement plan. It was my kids' college fund. Or I'll put in my like I'll put the money into, even if I have the 10,000 that I could spend on a trip, I'll put it into any kind of other thing, but I will not give myself permission to spend the money on the trip. And I became such an advocate when I speak to women who are in that mindset. I tell them, you deserve it. If you have the financial freedom to take that 10,000, 20,000, whatever thousand, maybe for someone it's a $2,000 trip. It doesn't have to be 10,000. But you have to give yourself permission to spend that money on you, because you should be okay with spending the money on you, enjoying it the way you want to enjoy it without feeling guilty. So that's my soapbox.
No, and I just kept nodding because I agree so much. As women, we don't prioritize ourselves. And honestly, we're taught to always put, our children first, our partners first, everybody else first. And we, just kind of keep getting knocked down the list. And that goes for how we spend our time and how we spend our money. We always want to care for others, but I think it comes down to a couple things. And one of those reasons why we don't prioritize ourselves is because we've been kind of conditioned throughout our lives to keep working harder, keep achieving, keep proving yourself, to get the acceptance and love that comes along with that. And so when you were a child and you got good grades and your parents said, yay, that's amazing, you said, oh, I want more of that. And that just continued, that cycle continued. And you really want to do that. So I think part of the reason why we have that productivity guilt is because we just keep grinding, because that's what we think is going to lead to, the results that we want. And, subconsciously that can be love and acceptance. Consciously that could be making more money and, what the things that we desire. We think, hard work leads to that. But the thing is that we have made resting, because I think the other piece of not traveling is, well, I got to work harder and I got to, do all of these things, and I'll travel later, whether that's in retirement or, next year, whatever it is, there's this, you know, desire to keep driving and grinding and hustling to get the things that you want, and taking, a week off or something it feels unsafe, because it's not what we have been proving to ourselves is, that's what gets results. We keep going, 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 because we can't take our foot off the gas at all. Like we have we're just in this vicious cycle, unfortunately. And it's really sad. So I think that that's, really kind of that root cause of the productivity guilt. But the other thing that I know I work with really all of my clients on is defining, like, what are your goals? What's your vision? What is that big why for what you're doing? And I think that if that is defined really well, then I think that can help you overcome the challenges. If it's just some loosey-goosey, yeah, I want to go to Italy someday, then someday will not happen. But if you get way more specific about that dream, whatever it is, maybe you do want to go to Italy and you want to learn about, I don't know, the winemaking process, and, go to specific wineries and, really fuel that passion that you have around wine. Okay, well, now all of a sudden that becomes a lot easier to start researching, trips that could be in line with that. How much does this cost? Like, all of a sudden, just that little domino clicks a whole bunch of other actions that can take you from just some loosey-goosey dream that will happen someday. Although trips don't generally just fall in your lap. But once you start getting, the more specific you can get, the easier it is to take that next step. You don't have to, figure out everything all at once, but just see, is this feasible? And kind of it automatically changes your thoughts into, from, well, I don't know if this could ever happen, to how could I make that happen? And that's a much more empowered place to be in, is if you can start problem solving and see, it becomes also a little bit more playful, instead of feeling like a victim, like, oh, I have this desire and that just feels so far out of reach. You can be like, okay, well, if I do want to go to Italy, what could that look like? And, how could I get those experiences that I am looking for? And, there's going to be options at different price points. If, the price and the money is maybe more of a bigger concern. And, automatically it's just like, it's that snowball effect, right? It just becomes more and more feasible the more details you have.
100%. I love how you said it becomes from if I can go to Italy or whatever, Argentina, whatever that magic place that you're dreaming of going, to how I can make it there. And when that mind shift switches, you go from that victim of like, oh, I can't do this, into like, I can, I just need to figure out how. I hear a lot of times, oh, the trip is so expensive. I don't want to stay in hostels. I want to do it really, like, I want to do it right. If I'm gonna do Paris, I'm gonna do Paris right. Like it's the famous quote from Emily in Paris. Like,
Yeah.
Emily, if you're gonna do Paris, do it right. Like a lot of times we have like this idea of like, oh, it has to be Four Seasons, or it has to be limo driver, or whatever that like one thing, or like a swim up room, or a cave swim up thing in Santorini that like we all see on Instagram, whatever that thing that does it for you. But where we put these limiting beliefs, like, oh no, it's too expensive, it's for influencers, it's for younger people, it's for single people, for like we put all these labels, all these excuses why we can't do it. But I love how you said, like, well, figure out how. I I gave, like, when I was younger and in college and traveled in hostels and like didn't have the money to do it the way I wanted to do it, I would like I would put like away $1 every day, right? And then like, okay, that's $7, and then it's $30. Like nowadays you cannot buy much for $1. So maybe like someone who's a little bit older and more mature and has some savings, maybe putting away $20 a day, like do an experiment, set up an automatic transfer from your bank from one account to another account, $20 a day, and see what happens in 6 months, and see what happens in 9 months. And you're like, oh, that's gonna be a nice chunk of change. And I bet you're not gonna feel that $20 because that $20 is probably like a Starbucks and half a sandwich in New York or Chicago these days. Like, you know, I would totally give up Starbucks and half a sandwich every day and like make my own peanut butter and jelly or my own salad at home or my own coffee at home. But then like go and have that amazing meal in Italy, that amazing coffee in Italy. That's not Starbucks. That amazing like sandwich or like that pizza in Italy. Like it would mean so much more to me to do that versus sitting here and like, oh, like I can't do this because it's too expensive, because I have two kids, because I have a mortgage. Like we all have all these excuses. But I think we need to start giving ourselves that permission slip. And that's why I'm calling these interviews. These are like really permission slip conversations because nobody's gonna, your husband's not gonna give it to you, your parents not gonna give it to you, your kids. You have to do it yourself. You have to give yourself that permission to do the things that you want to do. And you have to be a big girl. You have to put the big girl panties on and figure out how to do this.
Absolutely. And it comes down to prioritization. I think with your time and your money, for the money side of things, just to go back to your conversation real quick on, saving up money. And if, let's say, where you stay is the biggest priority to you, then put that towards hotels. Maybe the experiences or tours are going to be top priority to you, but these levers you can push and pull to make the trip happen in the way that's going to fulfill you the most. And I think that that's really critical in, it doesn't have to be all one way. I mean, there's plenty of ways to travel, but the same thing goes with pushing and pulling levers, with your time on a regular basis. But also when you travel, I think spending your time in the way that fills your cup the most and energizes you the most, I think that's what's going to lead to the best trips, or the best types of activities that you can do on, let's say, a weekly basis. And it's all about kind of testing. I have this whole experimentation kind of mindset that I am, working with women business owners on, is like being a little bit playful too about how you can, find these little pockets of time to give back to yourself. Because again, we're not doing this on a regular basis, or at least most people, and anybody who needs help, they are just working themselves to the bone, and then feeling really overwhelmed. And well, it's no wonder that you're not feeling, like yourself, because you're not giving any of your energy to yourself. And I think that's so important to, start moving ourselves up that list on a regular basis, and certainly on, the macro scale of, looking at your year. And, if travel is and I'm assuming everybody who's watching this loves travel, obviously us included, prioritizing that in, the way you look at your years, and months. And, if that's something that really fills your cup, then that's going to lead to the best version of you. If you think about your vacation personality, I know you want more of that in your life, because I feel like everybody has a vacation version of themselves where they're, much more easy breezy, and they want to channel that energy. I think that, where the last few months I've been kind of exploring the idea of like, how can you channel some of that vacation mindset into your everyday normal routines? And my answer to that is carving out and really prioritizing some regular time for yourself, depending on, what gives you that energy. Could be anything from like moving your body or challenging your mind or being out in nature, spending time with, your family, your partner, your kids. It's going to look a little different for everybody, but I think figuring out and testing what is that thing that really lights you up, do more of that, just to be able to give that gift to yourself. And I can guarantee you that the time spent away from your laptop, if you are, really, truly filling your cup, you will be able to return back more focused, more energized, and therefore more productive when you are, physically, typing away or doing whatever type of work you do.
It's so true, and it's not only being away from the laptop, and I'm gonna be the first one to say it's being away from your partner, it's being away from your kids. A lot of us women have this guilt, like, oh, I can't leave my kids. Oh, I can't travel without my partner. I created my business of traveling without my kids and without my partner for that same reason, that I wanted to have an excuse to be a little bit like away from them, because I need to recharge. And yes, it's harder on my partner when I'm away with the kids. We have two boys, 3 and 9, so it's not an easy feat. But when I come back after being away for that week, I come back a better mom. I come back a better wife. I'm more patient. I am more grounded. My cup is more filled. Like I'm looking at things differently. So like I make up for so much more than when I'm away. And that's so priceless to me and to everyone around me, because my kids and my husband, they deserve a calmer, happier me, more grounded me, that I can then be my best version of mom and wife to them.
Mhm. And I think that's so important to restoring your identity just as an individual and not as a mom and a business owner. In our cases, those are probably our two biggest identities. And it's really hard when that, takes 99% of your time. So to be able to take some time away and just be like, well, who is Susie without being mom? Revisit that because it's been a while. To really be able to see, what does light me up. And I think that's the power of travel, is that you're outside of your routine, you're outside of your normal scenery that instantly changes your perspectives, your thoughts, your ways of viewing life. And I think that some really powerful takeaways happen, at least for me, on every single trip. I come back home with new ways of thinking, and that always gives me the best business ideas. And not that I'm actively thinking about work while I'm traveling, I mean, sometimes it happens, but it's the brain is still working even while you're, off maybe on a boat, or, eating in a fabulous meal with a stunning view in, let's say, Italy or wherever. Um, your brain is still working, and it's really just a phenomenal opportunity to come back refreshed and like with a fresh set of eyes, that you'd be surprised, what that perspective can mean to, maybe you've been just really stuck on a problem and just you can't really seem to break through. But for some reason, when you go and you travel and then you come back home, it's like, oh, okay, now that I've had a little bit of disconnected time, I'm seeing that in a different way. Like it just shakes things up and literally changes like neural pathways when you are in a different physical location.
Yeah, when I come back home from a trip, like even when I'm in the cab from the airport to my house, like when I look at the same scenery that like I always look at, I was like, oh, this looks different. Or like you walk into your house and like, oh, this looks different. Like it's the same stuff, but it just looks different because you were away for like a week, and now kind of like your whole perspective changed. It's really amazing what travel does to you. I have a new friend that we've been friends for only a couple of months, and I was really craving a trip in the summer. We haven't been anywhere in 2 months, so poor me. I know, first world problems. And then we went on a trip, and I came back, and she was like, "Oh my God, you look like a new person. Like you have that sparkle in your eye. Like you really like this trip really like changed even how you physically look." She's like, "This is." I thought you were joking. You were like, "Oh, I need a vacation." Everybody's like, "I need a vacation, right?" But like, I actually like physically needed to be on the plane, go to a different time zone, like hear different language, eat different food to have this reset. And then I come back like a new person. She was so mesmerized. She's like, I cannot believe like how different you look. And like, it's not like I went and got a makeover. No, I just got on the plane and went to Germany for a week and then came back. It wasn't anything like that fabulous. So like we take for granted like what travel can do to us. It's kind of like a good night's sleep. Sometimes, at the end of the day, you're tired and you can't see straight on the problem. Then you wake up in the morning with a fresh perspective. And you're like, oh, much easier, or like, I can do this, I can figure this out. So, Susie, I don't want to take too much of your time. I'm sure we can talk about this for the next 17 hours and like still have more points to bring. But one thing that always bothers me when I come across coaches or courses, a lot of times it's like, do this, do that, let's say business, post more on social, go exercise, eat health. Like people, everybody's telling us what to do, but very few people are actually telling us how to do it. And I know you actually have an actionable course with tips and specific things on how to do it. So I know we will share more information in the link and in the comments below. But can you tell us a little bit about like, can you share maybe a few tips on how to like work? Like maybe somebody just listened to this, they're going to stop the video and be like, okay, I want to do one thing. If they can do one thing today before, except for signing up for information about your course, but like one thing, how they can prioritize themselves and give themselves a little bit more time. Like what can they do?
Yeah, the first thing that came to my mind when you were talking about do this, do that, there's so much noise out there. And this I know resonated with you when you watched my master class that I did last week, was put your blinders on and focus on what are your goals, what are your priorities, ignore the rest. And that alone can save you time, not only in doing things that don't align with those goals, but also spending time watching videos and things like, oh, that sounds nice. And it's shiny object syndrome. I want to do that. Oh, wow, that gets that results. It's so hard to just stay focused. But the more you can stay focused on, what are your short-term goals that you are trying to achieve, and just eliminating the stuff that does not align with that. You can put it to the side and do that next season, next quarter, whatever it is, but just really being ultra focused on what you need right now. I think that is one thing that really resonated with people. And the thing is that might disappoint some people. If you're eliminating some stuff, that might impact some people, and especially with us, like myself, who have some people-pleasing tendencies, that can be really hard. But I think with proper communication, and being very proactive about talking about those changes and why you're making those changes, it can soften the blow a little bit. And I think practicing disappointing some people is going to help you get closer to your goal of prioritizing yourself on a regular basis. And then, looking at your year, being able to prioritize bigger things like those big trips. So my program is called Time Freedom Upgrade. It's for women business owners. And the whole goal of the program is to find 5 or more hours each week that you can spend on yourself and not working. So I go into 5 secrets in a freebie that I am giving Anna the link to. So take a look at the comments below, wherever you're watching. Click that link and you're going to get the 5 secrets into how you can actually do that, and what's the 4-step process that I teach inside the program. That is a 4-week program, and each week is 1 step. So it's really meant to set the foundation for creating these processes and systems in your business and your life to be able to prioritize yourself. And this is something that I think is so powerful in, especially as we're approaching the end of the year. You want to enter 2025 with some solid systems and be able to actually unplug over the holidays. And I know that's so hard, especially for business owners who are so passionate about what we do. It's so critical to be able to set some of these foundations and overcome, some of these tendencies like people pleasing and productivity guilt, perfectionism, these things that we all are, I would say, the root causes. And so this program, yes, there's some tactics and strategies, but it's really giving you personalized attention and like, how can you mitigate some of these tendencies that you have that's holding you back? So it's really kind of allowing you to set that foundation so that, maybe in 2025 you can add on that shiny new marketing strategy. But let's start being more optimized with our time, making sure that our well-being is a priority, and then we can layer on, the things that really will benefit us and our businesses in the future.
That's awesome. It's so important what you're doing, this work to give women this freedom. Like 5 hours a week. Oh my God, that sounds incredible. And the masterclass that I took with you last week, like I started using some of the things, like I actually wrote down a whole page of all kinds of nonsense. Oh, I call it nonsense, but it's a lot of it is important things that I need to do. But then I actually highlighted the important things. And I was like, oh, okay, so maybe I'm gonna stop doing these three things that they're important, but not like maybe they can wait, So then like this gave me opportunity to kind of like take this mental load off. I'm like, I don't have to do all the things all at once. Well,
Yes.
it's like even just doing the free class with you and taking like the 5 tips that you gave, I was like, oh my God, this was so worth my time. So ladies, don't get us wrong. We're not trying to get you to sign up for some million hours a week program or anything like that. Just signing up for this freebie is going to unlock I'll give you my promise, at least 1 hour of free time a week, because you can just look at things differently. Maybe outsource some things or deprioritize other things, but it will definitely lighten your load. So definitely sign up for Susie's freebie. Susie, thank you so much. This has been really, really awesome. Um, I hope you'll come back soon and share with us more secrets of how to take more time off and maybe how to take a week off during the holidays. That's like a really big bucket list item for me. I can never take a week during the holidays. So I'm
I
like,
know. Well, that's the thing. This is kind of like that foundation. So once you've got that, it's going to make it a whole lot easier to take the week or maybe a sabbatical. And that's like what I'm building my business to kind of incrementally help people take that next step. But we got to set the foundations right first. So yeah, I would love to help anybody who's watching this. Thank you, Anna, for such a glowing review. That means the world to me. And I really am coming from a place of service because I know how critical this is. And especially, with my experience in sabbaticals, really being able to kind of help step you towards more and more of that time freedom that I know we all want. And yeah, please reach out. CarpeDiemTraveler.com, kind of on all the things, is the best. Yeah, Carpe Diem like that, and then Traveler, 1L. I am American. So yeah, you can find me. I'm most active on Instagram, and Susie Chau on LinkedIn. Those are great ways to get in touch. But yeah, download that freebie, and I'm giving you all my secrets.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Susie, for all your brilliance and for your time. So excited that we were able to connect and hope to see you soon here again.
Thank you so much.